Hi you guys, it's Amanda with Healthy House on the Block, and I am here with our weekly video and tip on creating an indoor space that truly supports our health and wellness rather than burdens it down. This week I am cutting out a little piece of the kitchen, no pun intended. We're going to talk about cutting boards because this is actually a very small thing that can make a huge impact in your home because of how frequently we use them and because they are touching our food and we can potentially ingest these toxins. And so we want to pay attention to the materials that we are using when we're talking about cutting boards. And I'm going to go through everything for you today. We're going to talk about the importance of this particular area in your kitchen and how it's really impacting your health and wellness, because I think this is a huge part of creating a healthy home. We have to understand what potential materials and toxins are doing to our bodies in order to positively change them. And then we are going to talk about the cutting boards you want to get out of your kitchen right away and the materials that you can then shop for. I'm also going to share with you my top picks, my Healthy House approved cutting boards, and I'm going to share with you how to take care of any natural wood cutting boards you get. And I am excited to share with you Vermont Naturals, which they make all toxin-free products. They have a great wood restorant. So we're going to talk about how to use that and the benefits of using that on your utensils and your cutting boards in your kitchen. So the kitchen really seems like it's the place to hang out when I'm at home. And I'll be honest, I actually really love it. Cooking and preparing meals for me usually is something that just brings me joy. I think cleanup is a different story, but one of the things I do most often in the kitchen is food prep, which I'm using a cutting board for. And for a really long time before I really understood what toxins were in my home, I used a lot of those plastic flexible cutting boards. And to be honest, after reading and learning more about phthalates and polyvinyl chloride, you could probably understand how ditching the plastic cutting board was the only way to go to get a lower toxin option in my kitchen. So while I don't think it's necessary to do a complete overhaul of your entire kitchen, because we know that this adds financial stress and time restraints on you, which can also cause stress, I do think that planning ahead, like I always talk about, is one of the best ways to make sure that you are making a healthy choice in the future when you are ready to replace whatever cutting board material you currently have. So I'm going to share with you everything I know about cutting boards and getting one that is completely safe and healthy for your family. After all, you're cutting up food on it and then consuming that food, which potentially could be toxins from your cutting board. And we know that ingesting toxins is one of the most harmful ways they affect our bodies. And so making sure we have a healthy food surface is key to creating a healthy kitchen and a healthy house. So let's jump in and talk about what cutting board surfaces you really want to avoid. So obviously the first we talked about plastic. It's a popular choice for cutting boards, and while it's pliable and resilient to cuts and scratches, eventually they do scratch, and that plastic that comes in contact with your food is concern enough just due to the toxins in PVC plastic and phthalates that are present in the plastic. But when you add a few scratches, you've increased your exposure to these toxins. You're looking at increasing your risk of endocrine disruption and hormone issues, developmental delays in children, reproductive system harm, and even an increased risk of allergies and asthma. Fused bamboo is another one we want to avoid. So I want to clarify, I don't mean solid, untreated bamboo cutting boards. Some cutting boards that are made of bamboo, and particularly the ones that are lower in price and therefore quality, are actually particles of bamboo, and they're fused or glued together. So most of the adhesives that are used would be extra strength in order to hold the particles together. And unfortunately, that means that the glue most likely contains formaldehyde, which is a known carcinogen. You should also be careful of mineral oil being used as a finish on these. It can contain glycophosphate and atrazine, which are chemicals that would be harmful to the body. So anything that is labeled antibacterial or prevents odors usually contains some sort of chemical antibacterial agent in or on the board. This could contain triclosan or another similar chemical that disrupts our hormone production, as well as creates an environment and system that promotes superbugs. So the great news is there are natural elements that actually have antibacterial properties that you can use if bacteria is a large concern when you're cooking. Another surface is melamine. This is a chemical compound commonly found in dishes and kitchen items. It has negative impacts on brain development as well as reproductive function due to its suppression of the endocrine system. And while it's usually a very inexpensive option due to the chemicals present, it really should be avoided when it comes to food preparation. So I mentioned it before, and it doesn't hurt to mention it again. The act of ingesting various toxins is one of the most harmful ways to come in contact with them, as opposed to inhalation or absorption through the skin. Not only do we generally come into contact with greater amounts of toxins through ingestion, but it also travels to our organs and systems much more quickly in comparison to other exposure methods. So they also negatively impact the microbiome and disrupt the natural microbes that are within our gut that keep us healthy. And what's even more is that many of the toxins I mentioned previously that are in cutting boards also disrupt the endocrine system. And this is what keeps our hormones balanced and in check, which can in turn keep many of our other systems up and running properly. So with our hormones out of whack, we start to see other effects spill over because of this impact, and we see fatigue, weight gain, reproductive issues, insomnia, headaches, and even thyroid issues. So by cutting out these toxins wherever we can, we start to see a more balanced endocrine production system, and we start to see our bodies become unburdened. An unburdened body will heal itself and start to ease in that general unwell feeling. So now the good stuff, the best surfaces for non-toxic cutting boards. Obviously, first is going to be solid wood. Now, that doesn't mean just any wood. It is solid wood that doesn't contain any sort of toxic adhesive or mineral oil finish. This is the best option. You'll want to try to find a hardwood non-toxic cutting board as opposed to a softwood like bamboo. I have found a lot of toxin-free cutting boards on Etsy. Earthware is another good option when it comes to solid wood non-toxic cutting. Another option is 100% natural rubber. Oftentimes this type of non-toxic cutting board is used in commercial or professional settings. You have to find 100% high density natural rubber with no fillers. It also kind of doubles as a non-skid surface, which is great. And these cutting boards are great because they rarely dull your knives, and they typically don't absorb bacteria or liquids or odors. You'll have to clean them by hand, but then that's the case with most non-toxic cutting boards anyways. Another great option is stone. So granite and marble cutting boards are great options. You'll want to make sure that these boards are naturally polished instead of chemically sealed. And the only downside to this non-toxic cutting board option is that they are often very hard on knives, but on the flip side, they don't absorb moisture or odors, and therefore they are a very bacteria resistant material. You could also go with glass. You want to look for tempered glass when you're looking for a cutting board. And these boards often have no other treatment on them and are 100% natural. It's a great option when you're looking for a non-toxic cutting board. The only downfall with these is that, again, they're really hard on knives and can dull them quickly. And then the last option is for a silicone cutting board. This is a great
replacement for plastic flexible cutting boards. Silicone does not easily breed harmful bacteria, and so even if there are small cuts in the board, this is less of a concern. Silicone is also naturally non-slip and can withstand pretty high temperatures before any sort of leaching would occur into your food. You'll want to look for a medical grade silicone or a platinum silicone when you're looking for these. So if you do have cutting boards at home, or even this would work with some wood utensils, you probably need to know how to safely restore them if you want to keep them for a long period of time. So when mine starts to look a little sad or it needs a little restoration, I actually use Vermont Natural Coatings Wood Rescue. Their solution is a natural mineral oil and it's organic beeswax, and it's blended together to restore wood items in the kitchen. It's also 100% food grade. So first you want to start with freshly cleaned utensils or a freshly cleaned surface. You want to wash them in warm water and a really gentle dish soap. For spoons and utensils, you could also soak them in vinegar and baking soda to remove any sort of bacteria. So once the surface is completely dry, you want to apply the wood rescue oil into the spoon or wood surface for your cutting board, and then you use a towel to rub the oil into all of the areas and just let it sit. You'll want to allow the wood to dry completely, at least 4 to 6 hours before using it, and then you can actually repeat this whole procedure every month or so as needed. But it's a great way to really take care of the quality products that you're going to be purchasing. We want to have things that last for life in our house. We don't want to be replacing them all the time. Not only is it more money, but it also creates more work for us. And if you're going to be investing in a high quality cutting board, let's take care of it and make sure that it is around for years to come. So these are my healthy house cutting board picks. All of these are linked up on the blog post for you guys. I have that link in the video description. So remember that it's these really small steps forward that make a difference in your healthy home. You don't need to be overwhelmed by choices. Instead, you can just make a list, even today, of one small change you can make to your cutting board situation at home. And then when you're ready to replace your current cutting board, you'll be set in making a really healthy choice.
I hope this was helpful, and I hope you can take at least one thing out of this video and the blog post and apply it to your kitchen. Maybe make a plan for the future to replace some cutting boards in your own home. It doesn't mean you have to do a full overhaul right now like we talked about. It's something that you can work towards, and with Christmas coming up, it might be something you add to your Christmas list or save for in the future. I will be back again next week with another healthy house tip, and so I hope you will subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out on any of the new information coming out. Until next week, be well.